Coming up on the Week 7 postgame show, one team gets their first win, and I can say this one with a smile, one team gets their first loss. So we'll talk about all of the Week 7 games. It's the team's 5th game, I get that, but we're calling it Week 7. Snow happened. It's all good. We're going to get all the games in, but it's Week 7. It's the Week 7 postgame show coming up. We have some analysts standing by. I hope they are all ready to, put on the Halfway Crooks jerseys. Maybe a little hat, but we got to get some merch for the Halfway Crooks bandwagon. No Maya, but Tyler, Peyton, and Aidan will be joining us shortly once we get to the show. And Maya's it's sad she can't be here on one of the Halfway Crooks, best showings, I think is fair to say. But we will see what the analysts have to say coming up. As always, presented by Ultra Barber Salon in West Warwick. You saw the picture. They even got a jersey. They're the jersey sponsors for this season. More coming from them. Shout out to Edge Spray. We did some stuff with them to kind of give some guys some grip so they stopped bitching about the court. It didn't work. They're still bitching. It's okay. Shout out to Edge Spray. It does work. And to Fusco and Sun Fence. We're just rattling off the sponsors. We'll do more with them with our famous segment at the end of the show. Stay tuned for that. The one-word game. Everybody can get ready. It's like a speed round. It lets them think. And leaves, some things up for, interpretation, depending on what one word they choose. But all right, enough about that. We have Halfway Crooks to talk about. Let's get to the Week 7 postgame show. Yeah. This is the Legacy League. Tell me where your legacy be. Yeah. The Halfway Crooks get it done. They beat the Road Dogs in the rematch. And that was actually the widest margin, a 10-point margin in Week 7, as we had Load Management getting their second win and Rags getting their first win. Rags by 2 after being up in that game. We'll talk about that one. And Load Management handing Lob City their 4th straight loss. We've never said that, Aidan. I don't think that's ever happened. 4 in a row is now, pushing some limits for Lob City, who, definitely last season we talked about it. They had 10 losses over 9 years. All right, and we talk about 4 losses in a row for Lob City. So we'll get to that. We'll get to everybody. Aidan, Tyler, and Peyton standing by. Let's go in order because it was the top 2 teams in the rankings, the top 2 teams in the standings, and luckily, because these 2 teams now have the same record and they split, so then there's a whole bunch of secondary tiebreakers we'll have to get into. Luckily, the top 2 teams get a bye in the playoffs, and so it may not totally, matter in the sense of who's the 1, who's the 2 seed. They should both get a bye if they keep up their winning ways, but it is the Halfway Crooks getting the win in Week 7. 79-69, a 10-point win, and that was the difference, really, a 10-point third quarter for the Halfway Crooks as they get it done. Aiden Dozos led the way with 25 and 8. Tyler Siccione with 17. 5 players for the Halfway Crooks with at least 9 points. And no, I was not one of those 5 players, so go figure. For the Road Dogs, Kevin Views with 23, Demoy Ennis with 21 on perfect shooting. Noah James, 7 of 18. So I think we kind of have to talk about that in a second, as they shot 50% from the floor, 5 of 20 from 3 for the Road Dogs. They got out rebounded. It was really that third quarter, and I'm not even sure what flipped, but let's go Peyton first. Well, we'll go Tyler. We're going to put Tyler on the spot with the Halfway Crooks. She's ready. It's all good. What did you see from the Halfway Crooks, and what was the difference? Because it was a back-and-forth game, it was close, and then they kind of built a little bit of a lead and held on in that second half. What did they do, Tyler?
This game was a really good one to watch. I felt like a lot of the points were like landing this time. I did like recording for this, and for the Halfway Crooks, I felt like every shot it was just going back to Aiden, and then for Road Dogs, it was going to Kevin, and it just seemed like they were really the 2 like stars of the show. Of course, both the teams help. But I think a big difference for why they kind of pulled away and won, they kind of landed more of the shots, and I feel like they were taking more smart shots. It kind of seemed like, especially like the second half, that Road Dogs kind of got like nervous and got a little more like sloppy, and I think that was what the overall difference was in like who won the game. But definitely the third quarter, I noticed there was kind of a big slowdown of shots for both teams. Like there was just kind of like this lull for the first like 5 minutes of the quarter, and kind of each team had to decide if they were going to lock in or not. And one team decided to, and I guess they ran away with it.
Yeah, only I was trying to do math quickly and I keep opening the wrong thing. 28 points combined in the third quarter. And then we talk about the fourth quarter, 49 points combined, right? And so you talk about that 5 minute lull. It was, I don't know if you want to call it good defense, kind of both teams just missing shots, but it was kind of like everything was at a standstill, kind of both ways early in that third quarter for whatever reason, probably because I was in the game for that stretch. So there you go. I'll take credit for that one. Peyton, go whichever direction you would like on this one. I mean, a lot of great points, right? I mean, Aiden Dozos led the way. We'll kind of get into some of the rotation stuff and some of the different lineups, and I can even go more in depth on that. The Road Dogs didn't have that option today, only with 5 players. So they didn't have as many options as the Halfway Crooks, lineup wise, anyway. But Peyton, what'd you see and how the Halfway Crooks were able to get it done?
5 players for Road Dogs was definitely a big time hurt, especially because it's a 4-on-4 league, so you have one player subbing out. As for Halfway Crooks, though, they were down early in the game, but they just found that spark. They really have just something I really like about Halfway Crooks is that they have that team chemistry. It's a point where they get along very well, and that's something they take advantage of. They know each other well, they get along well, and they play together well. And something I look really forward to the rest of the way.
The team chemistry is a funny point, Aiden, in a good way, because Nick Lemoyne talked about it after the game and kind of finding those different lineups, finding those different roles for the Halfway Crooks, who have a former MVP in Nick Lemoyne who sat out the first, 7 minutes of the fourth quarter, right? Like the most critical point of the game, Nick Lemoyne wasn't in, and it was still the Halfway Crooks able to get it done. Aiden, even comparing this to that first matchup, which I'll put you on the spot a little bit, but it came earlier in the season. It came week 3, which was, a month ago now. It was 2 games ago, but it was a calendar month ago, and it was a game of runs, right? It was a big third quarter for the Road Dogs and a big first quarter for the Road Dogs. Very similar scoring, though. They only had, 6 players. No Zeki. Well, actually, they had 7. Zeki was there, didn't score. 3 players with 20 points for the Road Dogs in that first matchup. Kevin Views, Noah James, Demoy Ennis. I talked about those 3 at the top in this game, leading the way as well for the Road Dogs. Aiden, I'm not sure what was different, and that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out. Like, sure, one team made more shots. I think the Halfway Crooks avoided those big runs, right, on the defensive end, and that helps, right, if you don't want to dig yourself a 16-point hole and then have to dig out of that twice. So they avoided that. What was different? And that's a very open-ended question, but I don't even know if I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. What do you think?
Well, I don't really know either, but I think the difference is when you look at the stats specifically, you a glaring thing happens where you see Noah James and he shoots 7 of 18, and that rarely happens. I don't think I've ever seen. Well, there's been a couple of bad games I've seen him. Noah, very scarce, but when your best offensive player is not producing and it's frustrating him, it's frustrating the rest of the team. So it's kind of unfortunate there was that team dynamic. I think what the Halfway Crooks did very well this time is I know Demoy Ennis had 21 points. He didn't miss a shot. But towards the end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth, or even during the fourth, they kind of shut down the lob threat and the pick and roll because everybody knows the Road Dogs really want to get into that pick and roll because there's not many people in the gym that can jump as high as Des Moines when he's going for a dunk. So I think another difference is just the Halfway Crooks understand each other a little bit more, and it's rough to say because, like you said, you bring in Aiden and you bring in Tyler, who are 2 new pieces coming into an already very fast-paced Halfway Crooks team. Nick's used to shooting 25 shots a game, and now he's only relegated to shooting 6 shots. And like you just said, he sat the first 7 minutes of the fourth quarter. So I think the Crooks being able to understand their matchups and they know their roles, and even just speaking to Nick, like I remember last season, he's like, I want this MVP. And I think Nick's, like he was focused on that and he won it because he obviously deserved it. But I think they're focused on actually winning the game now, and they're okay with doing what they're being asked. Now for the Road Dogs, it's very unfortunate that in the beginning of the season they lost Omar and they lost Ethan. Those are 2 really big pieces that you kind of need to find options around. And Kevin has been incredible this season, and so is Des Moines, and so is Noah. They've all been incredible. But if one thing's not working for them, I think they get frustrated and they keep attacking and continuing. Karan Bostic, he shot 5 shots this game. Usually he's not going to miss those threes. He missed 2 threes, but they felt like big threes that he were missing. And I think it was just, I think the Road Dogs became frustrated with themselves. Just obviously, I don't mean to bring up the refs every time we talk in the post game, but all the teams talk about the refs, and that's a completely different entity of us. So what happens with the refs during those games, that's on them, but that's a factor that they always contribute. So I think if they're not getting their own calls and they're feeling frustrated with that, I think it also relates to their game. So they begin to miss shots, they get in their head, and they continue to play sloppy basketball. This was the worst version of the Road Dogs I've seen. They're used to having 5 to 6 players. I know Joey's laughing when I'm saying that in this game. It just kind of seems like I remember in the first quarter it was 10-3. Road Dogs went on a quick run, and then the Crooks came right back. And I think that was the story of this game, where everybody was scoring at a similar pace, but the Crooks just did it better in the third, and they kept that up, and they played great defense to not allow the Road Dogs to come back.
Well, a couple things, and then we'll move on. You talk about Nick Lemoyne, six shots, right? He definitely still impacted the game, right? Is that right? 6 shots? Yeah. So, I didn't even realize that, and I watched the whole game in person, right? And so he still definitely impacted the game without having to shoot, and that's a credit to him. I probably said it every week because he could be an MVP. He could score all these points, and it's a huge part of any team to have players like that, like an Omar, like Noah, who can take a back seat when there are other players who can get going. You need players like that because everybody can't shoot every time, when they're on a team with a lot of talent. You talk about the pick and roll, and I think some of that frustration, sure, not making the threes for the Road Dogs. I kind of brought up the percentage before, only 5 for 20 in this one, so that definitely hurts. When the threes aren't falling, and then it's one of those miraculous games where Noah James is going to shoot 7 of 18, right, to get it right, that both of those things impact how effective they are on the pick and roll, right? And so when Noah's coming off that pick and roll, if he's going to miss a couple shots, now you can go under and kind of, live with that result, right? Like, all right, let's make Noah hit some of these mid-range shots, which are hard on a lower rim. And if he's not making those, that's how you win that possession against the pick and roll. Okay, we're going to kind of try to go over this pick and roll. We're going to help off the wing, which is not a secret, kind of how another way to rotate and stop it. It leaves open a 3. If you're only going to make 5 of 20 from 3, you then just won again that possession against a pick and roll because you're kind of leaving the 3-point shooter who's not making it this game. And so that, sure, 20 points for Des Moines still, and the pick and roll is still super effective. And it's funny when they get rolling with it against some teams who aren't adjusting fast enough, that's how they score so quickly. Lob, fast break, they go back to the pick and roll. Noah gets an open 3 because you went under this time. Like, oh, there's 7 points, and it was a couple of easier shots for the Road Dogs. They kind of have to get back to that, and getting a Jalen Ardrey back, getting an Anthony Lyons back who can shoot it, Karan Bostic making more of his shots, Noah James not going 7 for 18. All of those things can happen any week and any time the Road Dogs play. They'll be fine. Everything's great. But I'm excited for the rest of their schedule. They get Rags, they get the Air Mambas, and next week they get a second matchup with Lob City, which will be a great game for both of those teams to try to bounce back and get wins. Let's move. That's enough halfway crooks. That's way too long, but it's worthy this week, especially with all the. It's so funny how the two matchups between those two teams are so different, right? And let's kind of get to another one of these matchups that is happening for the second time this season between Lob City and Load Management. We have to go all the way back to week 1 where Lob City, that was their last win. We talked about it, and they kind of welcomed Load Management to the league. Well, Load Management held on and defeated Lob City in their second matchup this season. 76-75. So I say held on because even Almar, knew it walking to the post-game interview. They missed their last 6 free throws. And usually, if you miss 6 free throws in a row to end a game, you're not going to win against Lob City just because of how many, how smart and how effective. And they tried. they tried to, come all the way back. I'll go to Aidan quickly first because I did not do my homework, but I know Lob City had the ball. They had a chance to get a shot off. I can picture Nick Mahar missing a layup, I believe, to tie it or take a lead like a couple possessions before the end of the game, and he was like, I just missed a layup, god damn it, He led the way with 28 points for Lob City, so shout out to him. Elijah Brown with 16, and Cody Crawford with 3 threes and 15 points. Almar Sabat led the way, 23-7-7 for load management as they get their second win. We'll talk more about them in a second. And Rodney Theodore just keeps giving us highlights, guys. We love it. 20 points for him, and a highlight you will see on social media, I promise. Just running the floor and taking advantage of somebody jumping on defense. We love that. We'll kind of flip the order. Aidan, Lob City, a different team. Let's talk about the end of that game as much, and I'm very much putting you on the spot. We're going to see how good Aidan is, because he didn't get his haircut yet at Ultra Barber and Salon, so we got to see if the brain's still working under there. Lob City did what they do, right? Foul early. Load management is like, we'll miss some free throws. We'll sign up for a fun ending. It's like, oh boy, here we go. And they had their chances. Lob City did. Load management kind of was in control out of that game, was able to build a small lead, and then towards the end, crazy things happened. But what happened at the end of that game, even just a little like play-by-play, Aidan, if you have it, and how load management was able to really escape, even though they deserved it, but they escaped at the end to beat Lob City.
Yeah, you're totally right. We really haven't seen Lob like this. But to recap the end of the game, it was a free throw battle. And like Almar has said, and I'm pretty sure every postgame interview, maybe all but once, is free throws. And if you look at it, you look at the stats, Almar was 5 of 8, and the rest of the team was 0-2 and 0-4. And that's 6 points on the board that could have cushioned load management up higher to not even allow Lob City to even have that chance to come back or even score the final basket. So that last play, I believe it was it being inbounded, and something must have happened, and then Leonard Williams comes and steals it. And Lob City doesn't even get a chance to get a shot off. And that's the description of the last couple possessions. Leonard Williams had 3 straight steals. And that's just his great defensive impact is what I think helped load management win. And Lob City has played, the shooting numbers and percentages don't really tell the story, but Lob City really hasn't lost by that many points in each of these games. So they're continuing to play good basketball, but they're just not able to win. And I don't know what it is, because Lob's always had a couple players who will always score and will always win, but they're 1-4. And like you said at the start, I remember a couple weeks ago, I was looking to see if they had lost 2 in a row ever. And they did a previous, I think it was last season or the season before. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then now you're saying they lost 4 in a row, which we all know that's never happened. It's a similar Lob City team to what they've had before. But it's also different because I think they're struggling to find their offensive identity. Because, well, they found it this game with Nick Mahar. He had 28. And they're all low post fades, post spins, just getting into the paint and scoring. And that's what you kind of need with Lob City. Lob City's always, they haven't lacked a bigger guy, but they've lacked someone who backs people down in the post and uses their footwork to actually get up shots. Most of them it's threes, dunks, defensive plays, and everything about that. But I'm all over the place because I'm just trying to think of this game. It was a really good game and a rematch of week 1 and Almar facing his former team. And I think load management, I said they looked the freshest coming into the 2026 in the last post game we did. And I still agree with that. They're 2-4 or 2-3, excuse me. And I think they can continue to win. But like you said, Rodney Theodore can kind of, you blink and he's on the other side of the court. He's hard to watch when he's moving. He's bouncing around. He's going all over the place. And load management just plays with, like, they can be aggressive and they can be less aggressive, but they're all adults, and if something goes wrong or they complain about free throws, they fix it. And now load management was missing Jonathan Batista, who we've only seen him once or twice in this league this season, but I just remembered the very first game I saw him, he's scoring threes and he's playmaking. And I think if you add him, I think load management can continue to play better basketball and get some more wins, but it's just we have to wait and see.
Yeah, 9 of 22 from 3 for load management. And it's one of those things where they're a newer team. It's their 5th game ever, minus Almar, who we've talked about. So to start making some of those threes along with that defense, along with that athleticism, along with, getting out and running off of those steals that they're going to create, now we're starting to see what they can do and kind of what I expected earlier from this team after talking with, Cody and Almar a little bit, like, they're athletes, right? So let's just kind of see how this translates. I think you'd rather play load management earlier in the season than later in the season, because you can see them starting to put it together, Peyton. We'll go to you quickly. And, even just in this one, I talked about the 3-point shooting, the free throws, but how did load management get it done, Peyton?
Load management definitely got it done. They were off to a struggling start to the beginning of the season, but they just found their rhythm in this game. Especially, they took advantage of what Lob City, like we said, have a 4-game losing streak. They definitely took advantage of their weaknesses, and they saw that. And to help it out a bit, their players started playing very well. Like, Alomar had a very good game with 23 points, but to go along with it, the defense definitely really stepped up in the game. There were some, especially in the first quarter, and they were able to run away with it. They did have they had some times, but they were able to hold on.
Yeah, and your dog agrees, I'm pretty sure, which is awesome. But the standings right now, Lob City's in 5th, load management's in 4th, and so that's a 4-5 matchup that would be in the quarterfinals, and the winner of that would get the 1 seed. Hello, you're the best team this season. Here comes Lob City in the semifinals. Not ideal. Okay, so that's kind of what is going to be set up in these playoffs because of Lob City being 1-4, load management at 2-3 right now, and we'll talk about the rest of their schedule. We already talked about it. Lob City Road Dogs next. Well, we have a week off because of something called the Super Bowl, but the next time we're back, the Road Dogs and Lob City will play to see. That'll feel like a playoff game as well. Tyler, you've seen these teams a couple weeks now. Lob City's still trying to find their way, but what stands out? We talked about some of the 3-point shooting, the defense, just what stands out in this one?
I'm actually blanking on which team it was, Lob City or load management. The back-to-back breakaway, that's probably the highlight we're gonna use.
Load. Oh yeah.
Yeah, load management. Okay, yeah, that was really great playing, and I love how that really hyped up the team chemistry there. They kind of picked up on a roll after that. But my biggest takeaway was just the free throws. I was just sitting there with my hands in my head, put me on the line. I don't know how they could have missed that, because you kind of just almost threw the game away, and it's not like they didn't have subs. Both teams had enough to filter in and out. So I don't know what was the reason for it. I was maybe they didn't practice enough during these snow weeks. No one hate me who's watching this, but I just feel that kind of really made or broke the game for them, and that's why load management won. But honestly, I think it was just luck. Whoever was at taking the foul shots for both teams, whichever ones fell, because it was basically a 1-point difference of a game. So they both need to get on the line and practice, I guess.
I realize they're free, right? It's in the name. Well, one of the teams now, Tyler, is probably going to take you up on that offer. So if load management is in that situation again, they're gonna probably try to get you to come take their free throws. So just be ready, because if that happens, and it's not going to happen. But if it was to happen, you'd have to make them. Now you're talking shit, then you got to step up. I realize they're free, and I'll give myself a pat. And I've made some pressure free throws to seal a game, and it's even when you've done it, and sure, playing it for 10 years on a lower rim helps, right? It's still weird. Sure, it's the same distance. The rim is right there. You have to half arm it because the rim is closer. And then then the pressure aspect on top of that. So it's a different feeling shot. Plus then the whole situation and the game going on around you. That's why, we just got to get it in once a week for the betting fans. It's over 0.5 mentions of this. The game's never over. And because especially when you start missing free throws, now a layup acts like a 3-pointer, right? When teams make their free throws, you have to score more. You need threes, right? If teams are missing free throws, you getting a layup is almost better than going 3 for 2. That's math, right? 2 compared to none is better than 3 to 2. And so think about that. That's why these leads at the end of games so quickly evaporate, and why things can change so quickly, and how Lob City was able to get right back into it and have a chance to win it. If you're missing free throws and the other team gets the ball without you scoring, that's the worst case scenario. And so there's a ton of factors. Well, this is one of the takeaways from the show. Tyler is ready. All right. What we have to do before the games, we're gonna make her shoot some free throws and make everybody watch. I think we're doing it. It's gonna be a good halftime show maybe at our next game. I love it. Some entertainment. But load management gets to 2-3, And their remaining schedule, they get the halfway Crooks, who they haven't played yet. They get the Air Mambas, who are kind of right near them in the standings. And they get Rags, who just got their first win. We'll get to them in a second. For Lob City, they still get Rags for the first time. They get the Road Dogs, like we talked about. And they get a rematch with the halfway Crooks. So not that it gets easier for anybody in this league this season, but it's getting good because now the teams are all close and we don't kind of have the split anymore. All the teams are right next to each other, and every game, they all matter anyway, but every game definitely matters, especially now for Rags, who I don't even know if it was free throws. I'll let you guys break this one down, but they had a lead and they tried letting the Air Mambas back into this one. A 2-point win for Rags. A win is a win. It counts. We saw Josh Perry. I can't wait to get some initial impressions on him. He was definitely back. He saved it for this game and not last week against the halfway Crooks. We love that. He was saving it all for this week. But Josh Perry and Rags get their first win of the season. A 2-point win, 68-66 for Rags over the Air Mambas. The Air Mambas had, their full team. So I guess maybe a little surprising of a result when you come in 3-1 as the Air Mambas were. They just got jumped on early, 21-9 for Rags in that first quarter. Credit the Air Mambas, they battled back even after still trailing by double digits heading into the fourth. That's where I'll leave the math equation there. But then they had a 12-point edge in the fourth quarter to fall by 2, and they were right there. Shaq Cologne led the way with 21. He's definitely more comfortable, and it's so funny now watching him kind of get to his spots, kind of understand what he wants to do on offense and on defense. It definitely goes both ways, so shout out to him as always. Chris Vincenzo with 17. He was effective, 7 for 12 shooting, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. That's what he does. So if he can be that constant, you add in Shaq Cologne, and then Luis Ramirez with 12, Chris Fague with 11. He was back, and Mario, took 2 shots, and so he usually gets more threes to go than that as well. That's kind of the formula for the Air Mambas. But for Rags, Rich Hall, 37 points. 4 threes. I think it felt like more to me from the 3-point line. He went 9 of 12 from the free throw line, so Tyler can give a little golf clap to him, to Rich Hall for making his free throws, and 7 rebounds for him. He led the way, shout out, and Josh Perry with 16 and 6 on 4 of 11 shooting, right? And it felt like he had a bigger impact in the game and still only shot 4 of 11. And so usually Josh Perry last season, our rookie of the year in his first season, was kind of more of that 8 for 12. He was even shooting more, 10 of 15. He was getting to those spots, making all those shots, and setting up his teammates. We saw a lot of that in their Week 7 win. All right, flip around the order, Peyton. Rags gets their first win. The Air Mambas fall to 3-2, and they're kind of part of now that middle in the standings. What'd you like from Rags in this one, Peyton?
First off, I definitely will say, to me at least, this was honestly game of the night to me. But something I did really enjoy by Rags is it doesn't hurt that Rich Hall is an ultimate highlight reel. You'll definitely see him a lot on social media. But something I also did really enjoy is Josh Perry throughout the entire game, just being like that team leader, like drawing up the plays, telling his team where to go for certain plays. Like Rags definitely keep taking advantage of that kind of play from Josh Perry. They could definitely start going on a win streak.
Yeah, that's Josh Perry. It's much easier to have that impact the way he does when he's playing, right? And we saw that earlier in the year. He was still vocal on the sidelines. It's just not the same when you can't also impact the game on the court. Rags still gets Lob City just really quick. They get the Road Dogs, and they get load management. So not that it gets easier for anybody, but they get some tough matchups in there. Did I say Lob City? Road Dogs. Okay, I thought I said halfway Crooks. No, I'm done torching Rags. Got to get it in there. Tyler, the Air Mambas tried to come back, right? So even just that fourth quarter quickly, it was a double-digit game like I talked about. They made some shots down the stretch. Kind of what stands out from that last couple minutes of maybe they're going to pull this off, but it is Rags getting the win. What'd you see?
I kind of wrote down 2 notes for this game. I said, crazy comeback from Air Mambas in the third. So I love how they picked it up there. But then I put that Rags needs to get back on defense. And I think that was what was a big change in the third quarter. Like they kind of, even like on the sidelines, were like yelling at each other, like, get back. And like there was one person, I don't know his name, that was like very vocal from like the sidelines, and he was just like, what are we focusing on? Just get back already. And because of that, they lost a bunch of points. Um, but they did play like strong D overall, so I think if they really did get back, I don't think it would have ever gotten to be as close of a game. But I think like the very last few minutes, from what I remember, Air Mambas just couldn't wasn't getting as lucky, and it seemed like Rags kind of locked in more at the end to basically lock it down for the end, and that's why this game went. But they did good foul shooting, so I'll give them that.
We got like the free throw doctor now. So, all right, great. You just have to end every like game analysis with like a score, like A plus for Rags from the free throw line. What'd they shoot? Is that even valid? Yeah, 18 to 25. Listen, 75%, we'll take it. Okay, 3 for 4 on a lowered rim, under pressure. Like, I don't even think that was really why the Air Mambas came back, right? And we keep bringing up that comeback just because it did make the game more interesting at the end. Rags dominated is strong, but was in control for 3 quarters, right? And sure, there was times where the Air Mambas kind of would take advantage and looked like they were going to make a run. Rags halted a lot of those opportunities through those first 3 quarters. And again, in control maybe is strong because it was a kind of close game still. Rags was winning. Rags was decidedly winning, even if it was a single-digit margin. And then they almost weren't, right? And so that's kind of how quickly things can change, Aidan. 8 for 19 from 3 for Rags, 7 of 20 for the Air Mambas, 53% for the Mambas from the floor, 48% from the floor for Rags. This was like a vintage Rags game, right? Josh Perry, Rich Hall kind of doing their thing on offense, defense, them doing enough to get stops. I think kind of more of this has to come down to the Air Mambas, right? I think this is kind of the Rags team we're going to see if Josh Perry's playing. I think this is their level. They looked like kind of at their peak for this season in those first 3 quarters. My point to saying that is not that they can't still improve, but that almost kind of leaves it on the Air Mambas, Aidan, and like, okay, we expect that from Rags, but Air Mambas, you were 3-1, you beat Lob City, throw out week 1 for a second. You guys were on a 3-game winning streak, beating some good teams. What the heck happened to the Air Mambas, Aidan?
So that's a good question. In the first quarter of the game, it was 21-9 Rags. And I think that's what kind of told me the way the Air Mambas were going to play this game. Shots just weren't falling. I think they lacked communication, which is something they've been doing very well this year. Communication, playing to their strengths, and it just felt like they didn't know where they wanted their players to be on the court. Where, if someone's going to the 3-point in the corner or swapping baselines or any type of, not a play that they draw up, but any type of play where you think your player's going to go somewhere. I think that is what happened. It was I'm not going to say it was as much iso ball as it was in previous seasons, but there were some plays where they would bring it up and just kind of, they'd settle for not a great shot, and that's what ended up happening. The Rags just kind of kept their foot on the gas and kept going, but when it came to the fourth quarter, it was 50-36 Rags, and I know that because I remember looking at the scoreboard saying the Mambas have only scored 36 points in 3 quarters, that's 12 a quarter, and then they come back and score 30 in the fourth quarter and make it a 2-point game, which I don't really know what had happened. And Tyler touched on it a little previously, is that I think the Rags just stopped playing defense. And I remember Cody and even Jared talking on the sidelines. A lot of teams, when they go up in this league, they take dumb shots. And I'm not saying that they all are dumb shots, but I think they try and settle for stuff. And I don't think you should be doing that, because if you were up 14 going into the fourth, and the Mambas scored 30 on you, and they made it a 2-point game. And the Mambas actually had a chance to win that. I'll touch on that in a couple seconds. But you just can't allow that to happen. And I think they were more or less, they weren't getting to their spots, so they were kind of forcing shots they didn't really need to force. But like you just said, Josh Perry, Rich Hall, I remember multiple sound bites from Josh. He looked at the scorer's table and he said, "I'm back." And that's exactly what it felt like, because like we mentioned before, the vocal leader, reigning rookie of the year, him saying "I'm back," and you take that pressure off of Rich, because Rich the last couple of weeks has had to have been that primary ball handler and the one who's scoring and facilitating and being their best offensive player. And yeah, it's great if one person can do all of those things, but if you don't have other players on your team that can also score at a successfully high rate or play with the same intensity as Rich does, it's not really a key to success. Another soundbite Josh said is he wants to make them all his victims, just like by punishing them at the rack or even just scoring on them, because we all know Josh Perry. He wants to win. He has that competitive edge, and he's leading this Rags team. And I hope that Joe Segator comes back and plays, because I'm really interested to see how a triple-headed monster of Rich Hall, Josh Perry, and Joe Segator play when they're all fully there. And Rags just continues to talk. Like Tyler mentioned, the guy on the bench, I'm pretty sure that was Kyle. Kyle's always talking. They're always seeing what they're doing wrong or trying to explain what they're doing wrong. There's always, like I just remember Josh, I'm rambling, but I remember Josh saying, set a screen, pick and roll here, go here. And when you have that leadership, it allows, like I said to Rich Hall, or about Rich Hall, it allows him to kind of feel relaxed because he doesn't have to think about doing all these other things while also scoring. So I think this is the best we've seen them in those first three quarters, and I think they collapsed in the fourth because they settled for just dumb shots, in my opinion, and they weren't playing to their strengths.
Let's do this, right? You teased it, and it's very important. Air Mambas had a timeout with the ball down by 2, and they were walking to the huddle, and we can hear everything. They're like, "Oh, we're going for 3. We're good. Like either we're winning or we're going home." Like because kind of a feeling like they just came back. Let's like try to end this. And you can talk quickly about the shot. I think it was Steve Simone, right? Got a 3 off. Was it? I can't remember. Was it tipped? I mean, they had the ball, so out of a timeout and had a chance to win.
Yeah, like you said, there was a couple seconds left on the clock, and it was either Steve or I think it was Chris Vincenzo, where there was an opening, and they shot it. I think they shot it a little bit early, but when the ball travels, it takes a couple seconds to go into the hoop. But I think they somewhat settled for that shot, and like you just said, they wanted to shoot a 3. They were like, win or lose, we're shooting this 3 because I think that's the way they wanted to play the game. They didn't want to go to overtime. They should have tried to go to overtime, but you always want to have that game winner. And I think, my other computer shut down, so I'm not bright anymore. But like you just said, that last final play, and I remember the Mamas being like, "What are you doing?" But it wasn't a bad shot. I think he was a little further on the 3-point than he would have liked to have been, but given the opportunity, if you can have a clean look or a decent look to win the game, I think you always try that. I think, like you just said, that was their mentality, is that they wanted to win. They didn't want to try and tie it. So I think that's a little different mentality. Like, you should try and want to go to overtime. You just scored 30 in the fourth quarter. You played very, very well. But I also see why they wanted to go for the win. And I think this was a good showing for the Mambas. They were bad in the first half, bad in the first quarter, really. Played well in the second half, went off in the fourth quarter, and they can continue to string these games. It's just they keep finding ways to somewhat be like the Air Mambas of old, where some weird mistakes or small mistakes are made that kind of create a bigger picture than what they're supposed to have.
Yeah, speaking of week 1, they get a rematch next week with the Halfway Crooks, and so we're gonna let's I know we're pushing. We've talked a lot about these games, but it's good, and it's our first time back after a little delay, so we had to. All right, this will speed round it. 1-word game. Okay, here's how it works. I'm gonna give you the matchup for week 8, which is the batch of games on the schedule. Week 8. Okay, that is going to happen next. I realize we have a Sunday off because of a big football game, but after that it'll be week 8. We're gonna go around. I'll make Aidan go first. You can see you literally get to say 2 words, and that defeats, I get the purpose of the 1-word game. But you're gonna pick a winner. So you say like which team is going to win, and then you get to say 1 word why you think that team is going to win. It could be free throws. We will let you hyphenate the word free throws if you want as an example. Rebounding, right? Perry for Josh Perry, right? You get to say 1 word and not explain it, and we're getting the heck out of here. Okay, so like I said, it leaves up some, unknown or like, I wonder what they mean when they say, Halfway Crooks, whatever, right? And whatever your 1 word is, okay, if you think the Halfway Crooks are going to win, which is a smart bet, apparently, in 2026. All right, let's go right in order for week 8. We have Rags and we have Load Management kicking off week 8. on February 15th. Okay, again, when we're back, week 8, Rags load management. Aidan, who do you have winning?
Oh, you want me? Oh, I thought you were going to continue with your thing.
No,
I'm picking load management.
Okay, and then what's your one word?
Defense.
Okay, see, now maybe you know who's playing defense. We don't know. We don't know. It's just load management and defense. All right, Tyler, who do you have winning? Load management and Rags.
Load management.
Okay, all right. And what's your one word?
I'm gonna hope free throws.
Okay, all right. Now listen, that's good for this one because load management did miss their last 6 free throws, right? That she took advantage of an opportunity, but we can't repeat words. All right, so it's not going to be free throws every time, but you're good. All right, load management and free throws. Maybe they get back, right? They're going to see Tyler shoot some free throws, and then they're going to make theirs, and they're going to beat Rags. Okay, Peyton, who do you have winning load management and Rags?
Yeah, I certainly also have load management winning.
All right, that was more than one word. No, and then load management, and then what's your one word?
One word is probably going to be teamwork.
Okay. All right. Teamwork. I like it. All right. Moving on. I told you this is it. But now, what does he mean by teamwork? We don't know. All right. The next week 8 matchup will be from week 1. Halfway Crooks get the Air Mambas for a second time. We'll kind of flip around the order. Peyton, Halfway Crooks or Air Mambas? Who you got?
Halfway Crooks.
Good choice. I am the host right now. Very good choice. What's your one word?
Chemistry.
All right. Beautiful. All right, now no one else can use chemistry, so if they took your word, we're going to have to come up with something. Aidan, Halfway Crooks, Air Mambas.
Halfway Crooks.
Okay. And your one word?
Pace.
Okay, we like it. All right, now, the Halfway Crooks don't always play fast. I wonder what he means. Tyler, Halfway Crooks or Air Mambas?
Halfway Crooks.
Okay, clean sweep. All right, now what's your one word?
Threes.
Perfect. See, isn't it? This game is so much fun. Maybe she means me. Who knows? You don't know who's going to make all these threes. Last game, and we talked about it at the beginning of the show nearly 45 minutes ago. Road Dogs and Lob City. A great way to end week 8. Okay. Lob City Road Dogs, I'll give you, we talked about, did Rags play load management already? They did. Load management won by 2. So I know we're backtracking a little bit. The Halfway Crooks, we remember week 1, that was a different Air Mambas team, so we can throw that out, but they won by a whole bunch. And then, just to give you a little before we do it, Road Dogs, Lob City, those teams played week 4. It was Road Dogs by 1. Okay, so a close game. We'll save Aidan for last because you can't repeat any of the words. All right, Tyler. You get to go first. First, Lob City Road Dogs. Who you got?
Road Dogs.
Okay. All right. What's your one word?
Which game were they in this week? Were they in the first, second, or third game?
They were in the first game. They're the orange team. Yeah, the first game.
Okay. Chemistry.
Okay. Well, she just broke the rules. It's all right. It's all right. It's the first. It's difficult. You repeat offender over there. All right. She probably wanted to say free throws again. It's all right. Peyton, who do you have?
Road Dogs.
Okay. All right. 2 for the Road Dogs. Interesting. Lob City will love this. What's your one word, Peyton?
One momentum.
Okay. They just lost. I wonder what he means. Momentum. Interesting. Both. All right. Aidan, who do you got?
Lob City.
Very smart. Listen, it's
I
you
haven't said
set
it once.
yourself up for a fun time.
Haven't said it once this season. You don't bet against Lob City. And
all right, well,
I know, but I haven't said it once this season. And
this is more than one word. What's your one word?
Hunger.
All right, fair. They've lost 4 in a row. Maybe they'll actually be hungry too at the game. Who knows? Maybe they'll be hungry on the court and off. Like me right now, we're starving. That is the Week 7 postgame show. Good job. All right, so we had. I'm a little, I say this every time. We have some new offenders on the one word show. Nobody tried to hyphenate words that aren't hyphenated. Tyler did do free throw, which is actually 2 words. We let it slide. You got to get, you say names. Those aren't actually one word, but if you say it fast, we kind of just let it slide. Got to try to hyphenate, Now you guys are ready. So next time we will do this again. Like Aidan, what's a good example of a one word that's hyphenated that we cheated and it's not actually one word, but it is for our game, right? Like
I don't remember.
Perry's defense. You know, I don't know, stuff like that, right? Like if you want to talk about Josh Perry's defense, right? Like I don't know. You get the point. You just hyphenate the word even though it's not, and we let it slide. It's better than repeating because there's no repeating, Tyler. All right, she'll try again on the one-word game next week. Good job, guys. All right, week 7 in the books. We have week 8 coming up next. Road Dogs Lob City. We talked about it. A clean sweep everywhere else. We'll see who's right when we come back. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Enjoy the week off. No more snow, please. Knock on everything. And we'll be back with the Week 8 postgame show after Week 8, everybody. Thanks for watching.